All right, so what makes a hip-hop album like a true classic? Like when you hear it years later, it still hits you just as hard. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's more than just beats and rhymes, right?
Right. Like with Rome Streetz' Kiss the Ring, there's this raw talent, but there's also something deeper going on. This guy, born in London, raised in Queens, he brings this whole other perspective.
Definitely a unique blend, kind of fuses that New York Golden Age sound with a touch of London grime.
Oh yeah, you could hear it in his flow. And then you throw in the Griselda Records influence.
That's key, right? That gritty underground aesthetic they're known for.
It's the perfect fit for what Rome Streetz is doing. Like, it just sets the mood.
And you can't forget about West Side Gun's touch as executive producer.
For sure.
He handpicked some heavy hitters for this project.
Like, who are we talking about?
Derringer, Conductor Williams, Camouflage Monk. These guys are known for those dark, textured beats.
It's more than just beats, though, right? It's like a whole sonic landscape they create.
Exactly. It pulls you right into Rome Streetz' world.
Okay, so let's talk about the title, Kiss the Ring.
It's bold, right?
It is, but there's depth to it, too, you know?
Like, what do you mean?
He's not just demanding respect, he's earned it. Rome Streetz has put in the work, gone through the fire to get here. It's like he built his own throne from scratch.
And you can hear that struggle in his lyrics.
Absolutely.
They're so dense, every line is packed with meaning. It reminds me of Big L, Big Pun, that era where the wordplay was just on another level.
Yeah, that battle rap background definitely comes through.
For sure.
But it's not just about showing off. He's using his words to paint these vivid pictures, tell stories, go deep.
Yeah, let's get into some of the tracks. In Too Deep really grabbed me. It's like a lesson in survival, knowing when to talk and when to stay quiet.
Right, like strategic silence.
It's this real introspective vibe, almost like a late-night thought session.
It applies to life beyond the streets, too, you know? Like observing, learning, picking your battles.
Then you got Hard On Froze. Just the title alone, man.
It hits you right in the chest, right? You know, he's about to talk about the cost of survival, the sacrifices, the emotional toll.
It's heavy stuff.
And his delivery is so raw on that track, it's like he's not hiding the pain.
There's strength in that vulnerability, though. He's acknowledging those scars.
It makes you feel it, you know?
And that connection with the listener is powerful.
Ugly Balenciagas threw me back to that classic Mobb Deep sound, man, that gritty, jazzy vibe.
It's timeless. Right.
But it doesn't sound dated at all.
Rome Streetz takes those influences and makes them his own. It's fresh.
That's what I love about this album. He bridges the gap between old school and new school. Okay, let's talk features. Soulja Boy. With Conway the Machine, their energy together is insane.
They're both forces of nature, man. Conway brings that raw Griselda energy.
They sound like they're in the trenches together, spitting fire.
The back and forth, the intensity, it's electric.
Makes you want to jump up and down. All right, another collab that blew me away. Blow for Blow with Stove God Cooks and Benny the Butcher. Pure lyrical warfare.
They're not playing around on that one. Every verse hits hard.
And that beat, man, dark, cinematic, adds to the tension.
Definitely a masterclass in lyrical sparring. Okay, let's switch it up a bit. Armed and Dangerous with Armani Caesar. This one surprised me. Different vibe.
It's got that Bonnie and Clyde energy, but it's not a typical love story. Armani Caesar brings this fierce, independent spirit to it.
She holds her own. It's a true partnership. Shows Rome Streetz' versatility.
He can adapt his style without losing his core message.
Exactly.
It's part of what makes this album so good. He can go from hard-hitting to introspective, and it all feels cohesive. All right, we got to talk about Long Story Short. This one hit me hard.
Yeah, what about it?
The story of Derek and Jermaine, their paths, it's just so raw and real. And that line, "The hood is undefeated," stuck with me.
It's powerful storytelling, but it's not glorifying the streets. It's showing the harsh reality.
Those details about their lives, the choices they make, it makes you think about the bigger picture.
No easy answers, just the brutal truth.
Then there's Tyson Beckford. Such a clever flip. He takes this name associated with success and turns it into a street anthem.
Yeah, brilliant wordplay, right? He redefined success in his own terms.
It's like he's saying, I might not be on magazine covers, but I built my own empire. And he says it with such confidence.
That self-belief is what makes him so compelling.
He's on his own path, doing it his own way.
And that's what resonates with listeners, that authenticity. It's like he's saying, you don't have to compromise your vision to succeed.
Stay true to yourself, your roots. That's powerful.
Absolutely. And it's a message that goes beyond music.
We've covered a lot, but we're just scratching the surface of Kiss the Ring. We'll be back in part 2 to unpack even more.
Welcome back. So we were talking about how Rome Streetz flips concepts on their head.
Yeah, like with Tyson Beckford. He takes this image of success and puts a whole new spin on it.
Makes you think about success in a different context.
Right, and then you have Long Story Short, which is like the opposite. Such a heavy track.
Definitely leaves a mark.
The way he tells the story of Derek and Jermaine, their paths, man, it just hits you in the gut.
Like a whole movie packed into a few verses, you really feel the weight of their choices.
And that line, the hood is undefeated. Bleak, but so real.
He's not glorifying it, just showing how tough it can be to break free.
But Rome Streetz himself is like a counterpoint to that, right? Like he found his way out through music.
Exactly. Shows that talent and dedication can change the game, offer a different path.
It's a glimmer of hope in a tough situation.
Reminder that things aren't always predetermined.
Okay, let's talk about the final track. Kiss the Ring. The way it closes out the album is a statement.
Like the culmination of everything we've been talking about, the work he's put in, the vision, it all leads to this.
There's defiance in his voice, but it's earned. Not just talking, he's backed it up.
Like he's saying, I've been through the fire, built this myself, now show some respect.
Makes you think about Kiss the Ring in a broader sense, not just Rome Streetz, but anyone who's had to fight for their spot.
Demanding recognition for your craft, your hustle, a message that goes beyond music.
Okay, so we've broken down a lot of tracks. What about the overall sound of the album?
Well, for me, it's that perfect blend of classic hip-hop elements with a modern edge.
I was thinking the same thing. You get that raw Griselda feel, but then the lyrics are so intricate, thought-provoking.
It's like he takes that big L, big pun vibe and updates it for today.
Yeah, it's not just a throwback. It's pushing forward, too.
And you can't underestimate the role of the producers in creating that soundscape.
Derringer, Conductor Williams, they're masters at their craft.
They give it that nostalgic yet futuristic vibe at the same time.
Like a time machine built by someone who gets both the history and the future of hip-hop.
Not just recreating, but building upon what came before.
So here's the big question. Is Rome Streetz a throwback? Or is he ushering in something new?
It's both, isn't it? He's rooted in those classic traditions, the lyrical skill, the storytelling.
You can definitely hear that influence.
But he's also pushing boundaries. Experimenting, being vulnerable in his lyrics, which wasn't always the norm back then.
It's like he's bridging that gap between old school and new school, showing that you can evolve without losing your core.
And that's what makes Kiss the Ring so interesting. It's a conversation with the past, present, and future of hip-hop.
Makes you think about where the genre can go.
It's an album that demands attention, makes you think, definitely a statement.
So as we get to the end of this deep dive, what's the key takeaway for listeners? I think it's about the power of authenticity.
I agree. Rome Streetz is 100% himself, not chasing trends or trying to fit in.
And that's what makes it resonate. He's speaking his truth, and people feel that.
In a world where everything's so polished, that rawness stands out.
It's a reminder that being yourself is enough.
Kiss the Ring is proof that you can stay true to your vision and still make an impact.
We've got one more part of our deep dive to go. We'll be back to wrap things up and explore the lasting impact of Kiss the Ring. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been going deep on Rome Streetz's Kiss the Ring.
Really unpacking it, from the production to those killer rhymes.
So as we wrap things up, I wanted to step back and look at the bigger picture. Where does this album fit in,
Yeah, good question. I think what stands out is how it manages to be both a throwback and a step forward at the same time.
You get that classic hip-hop feel, but it's not stuck in the past.
Definitely. That respect for the roots is there, the lyrical skill, the storytelling.
You hear those golden age influences, but it's still fresh, still Rome Streetz's voice.
He's building on the foundation, not just copying it. And the production plays a big role, too.
Those dark cinematic beats, that Griselda's signature sound.
Creates a whole atmosphere, almost like a movie.
Yeah, it's not just music, it's an experience.
And it's all built on this sense of authenticity. That's what really struck me.
He's not putting on a front, he's just being himself.
It's so rare these days, that kind of honesty.
There's so much pressure to conform, but Rome Streetz is like, nah, I'm doing my own thing.
And doing it well, the way he crafts his verses, the wordplay, the metaphors.
He's a master of language.
Not just technical skill, though. He's using it to paint pictures, explore ideas.
Okay, so we've reached the end of our deep dive. What's the one thing you want listeners to take away?
For me, it's about the power of being yourself, being true to your vision.
Rome Streetz shows that you can achieve success without compromising who you are.
And that's a message that goes way beyond music. It's about life, about creativity.
It's been great diving deep with you.
Likewise, always a pleasure. Until next time, keep exploring, keep those ears open for those authentic voices.